Welcome to the Men's Line Podcast, a community of strong men through knowledge, growth, and leadership. With your host, Alex Montenegro.
Thank you all for tuning in. This podcast was born out of conversations, questions, and ultimately the desire to be a better man, a better husband, and a better father. We're going to cover a wide range of topics from dating, marriage, politics, health, and pop culture. We would love to hear any comments and ideas from you, so send that over to our Instagram page at the Men's Line Podcast or email at info@themen'slineofficial.com. Please be sure to give us a 5-star rating, like, share, and subscribe. Help keep independent media and broadcasting alive by donating to our Patreon page at the Men's Line Podcast. So let's dive right in. So welcome everybody to the premiere of the Men's Line Podcast. I'm so fired up because I have two of my best friends. It would not be the same having the celebration without you guys. So I want to introduce you, Tom Fruci and Carlos Borges. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Thanks for having us, man.
Absolutely amazing, man. So honored to be on. Thank you for having us on.
Oh yeah, of course. I'm excited because we're going to have a conversation about something that seems so little and something we probably don't really think about, but a phrase that can have a huge impact in life. And in the context of friendship, that phrase is, I love you, man. I'm talking about having a group of friends where you can have love, support, accountability, and, mentorship with. And so I want to start with you, Carlos, because you are pretty much the glue that holds this friendship together. You were the first friend I had that reached out to me when things were rough and, just saying, hey, man, I love and support you. I'm here for you. So my question for you is, where does love and affection come from, man?
Man, I grew up not having a ton of close friends in school. In fact, I got picked on in school a lot, which I think is where my sensitive side comes from. But I grew up in very tight-knit groups of guys because I grew up playing hockey. And so, when you're playing with the same 6 guys on D, which is what I played, you get pretty tight with people and you build some pretty strong relationships and some pretty strong friendships. And so, man, as I grew up and as I got into my adolescence, it became more apparent that I needed mentorship. And so I had reached out to a handful of friends that were a little bit older, that were a little bit further along the beaten path, and they brought me in. The term "I love you" was never easy for me to say to other men, predominantly because I only knew the one kind of love.
Well, I know totally. That's the thing, right?
and I wasn't down for that kind of love. You know what I mean? I wasn't going to be dropping the soap for nobody. But I think as we get older, we realize that the role of the man, whether it be in your household or in your family, it's a pretty tough role. The world does a pretty good job of beating you up. And at the end of the day, we all need a circle or an inner circle of strong relationships, of strong men that we can be vulnerable with, that we can be open with, and that ultimately that you're loved and that you're cared for, and that you can go through challenges with.
Right. So what did that do for you? Once you sought out those mentors that, coach you through this, what did that do for you personally when they took you in under their wing and just be like, hey, Carlos, we love you. We support you. We're here for whatever you need.
Yeah. So I think at the beginning, we all need, and like everybody comes in at a different place, at the beginning, it's almost like a lot of us are looking for acceptance. Right. And so on that path, you go from seeking acceptance to seeking respect. So you stop looking for permission to do things and stop looking for people to be on board with your thoughts or with your feelings or with,
Mhm.
whatever. And you start looking to gain the respect of the people that you care about. I think that
Right.
that one concept drives a lot of what it takes to build courage internally. Because I
Mhm.
find that, you know, as men, if we can just build our own courage and not have that courage be dependent on whether somebody accepts what we're saying or like eh, whether we're trying to please other people, I think that's what it does for us.
Right. How about yourself, Tom? I know within our group here, we're always like, "Hey, dude, love you, here for you." Was that normal for you growing up?
No, not really normal. Like similar to Carlos, I grew up playing soccer, and you have a tight knit team, but at the end of every year, it changes. You know, people get released, new players
Mhm.
come. You suddenly become a good player, then you're a weaker player, and then you get released and you move teams. So although it's tight for the season, it's not. It's not a long term thing. You're never really with the same group of guys for too long. And of course, when you're younger, you're looking for that acceptance over everything else. You want to be part of the crew. You have to be part of this crew. You're not going to take anything else. And it's like you kind of. I feel like younger men. I don't know about women because I can't speak for them, but younger men, they're like chameleons. You know, depending on where they are and what group they're in, it's who they are. So,
Mm.
okay, I'm with the football guys. I'm with the soccer guys. So today I'm soccer Tom. Tomorrow I'm with my school friends, and I'm top of the class. So I'm school Tom. And then when I get home, I'm Tom the son, the brother, like the kid. So like when you're younger, you're trying to find yourself and you're all these different people, and the last thing you want to do is make yourself vulnerable to tell your friends like, oh, I love you, man, and they're like, okay, that's super weird. And then like when you get older, like as we get older, I feel like when I was 18, I had like 100 friends, but none of them were my friends. They were just people that I went out with and that I played soccer with, and like I even said at one point, I think I used to have like day friends and night friends, like the people that I'd
Mm.
hang out with in the day and the people that I'd hang out with in the night. And in the end, you weed yourself. They weed themselves out. And I find now I'm 33, coming up to 34 in August, and I've got like I would say 10 friends, 10, 15 friends that are, like guy friends that I'd be like, these are like people that I would say like love you, man, like want to hang out with you, want to grow with you, want to help you, and that's the difference. I think it just evolves as well. For me anyway, it's evolved as I've got older anyway.
Right. So I hear that there's like this underlying theme between the three of us here, and that's that want and that need to be accepted and be vulnerable and have that kind of relationship with friends like that. Eh? Have you guys ever seen that movie I Love You Man? Yeah. Well, I
So
love
good.
that movie so much because, like, I kid you not, we went to see this movie in theaters. This was like back in, I don't know, 2007 or something like that. We went to the theater and, we're all having a great laugh. And I'm just there with my girlfriend, now wife, and her sisters. And then, like I'm watching this movie and I'm like, oh my God, that's me. This guy, this guy truly has no male friends. He's got like nobody to go to when shit hits a fan or anything like that. Right. So, I'm like, "Oh my god, that's totally me." And then you seeing the process of him going out there, putting himself out there, finally, finding that dude that's like, like a brother and how it changes his whole being. It has huge
Totally.
impact in your life.
Yeah, that reminds me more of Without a Paddle than anything else. These guys just go up in a creek and they're up Shit's Creek and they're completely just relying on each other. And at one point they're sleeping in a cave with no clothes on.
Yeah, actually, I totally forgot about that movie. You're right, and I do remember that scene where they're super cold, right, and they don't want to do it, but they end up just taking off their clothes,
Yeah.
sitting like or laying down side by side like sardines, and just getting warm through the process of making sure they survive for the night, right?
hmm And you know what that reminds me of, Alex, is a lot of the times, like it's funny because Tom just said, when I was young, I had 50 friends, and now I've got 10 or 15. I think what happens as we get older, like I've seen this in my own life, is I used to have a ton of people that I considered friends through my late teens and my early 20s, especially in the restaurant industry. Everybody was your friend if you had BBM, right? Um,
Yeah.
and then what I realized was that friends are people. It's a little bit different. Friends is not like good friends are hard to come by. They're relationships that you have to deposit into. People that you have to, like and love and trust, and that at the end of the day, you know that they have your back regardless. When I made a decision back in 2012. to cut down on partying and stop going to the bar as much. You'd be surprised how many friends I no longer had. Like it was
Right.
pretty quick. I went from having tons of friends to having three.
Hmm. Yeah, totally. So I grew up a little bit different. Uh, I didn't really have that many friends growing up. I always had about like maybe one or two friends that I would consider friends, and largely due to the fact that my dad left us when we were like kids, right? So I didn't have that male companionship, that male, figure to be like, "Hey, I love you," and so
Mm,
it was a little bit awkward for me, right? I didn't even know how to go about making friends or anything like that. So the friends I did have were just, naturally we had same things in common, be it sports, music, whatever, right? And so truly, the first time I actually, was like, "Hey, I love you, man," with a group of guys was actually you guys, you too.
That's awesome.
Isn't that doesn't that blow your
really?
mind? Yeah. And I look back at it now, it's like, how the hell did I survive not having that kind of friendship? Because it does wonders because not only psychologically, but it has impact in your relationships with your other half, your children and stuff, right?
Yeah,
It has an
tremendously.
impact on the way you do life.
Totally.
And when you have that benchmark of like true friendship, you can also see for yourself without the need for action who your true friends are. It's not like, oh, now I know who my true friends are because something bad happens. It's like, and now I know who my true friends are because they're the ones that are always there.
Yeah, that's right. Someone once said that your true friends are quiet during the good times, but loud during the harsh times.
You know,
Because you have real friends.
yeah,
Totally.
yeah, and like what the great Jerry Seinfeld said when someone offered to be his friend, I'm not taking applications at the moment. You know, and I feel like as we get older, we say that more. Like if you want to be my friend,
Yeah.
there's an application, there's a wait in it, but I'm not taking applications for just anyone. Like I feel like when you're younger, you have a high turnover of staff. If you're treating yourself as a company, you have a high turnover of staff. You're accepting applications, and you accept anyone who applies. You need the staff. Like, but when you get older, yeah, it's more selective. You got to go through a process. Like you need to meet certain selection criteria, and you know, unfortunately, I'm not taking applications at the moment. I'm close. I have enough close friends. You know?
Totally, and it's funny. It's funny that you say that because the truth is that when you are making friends, you're looking for people that really have like 100%, have your back in terms of even like your marriage, right? Like you guys are all in on my marriage. There's no taking sides whatsoever. You're there to invest in both myself and my wife, right?
Hmm.
Mhm.
And I mean, and like you were saying, Carlos, you're like one of those people that when things go wrong, you're right there at the door. You're knocking, and if you're not knocking, you're breaking through.
And bringing
Yeah,
people with
So
and we've seen it. I've
yeah,
seen it live. So yeah,
I know between the three of us who've seen it live,
yeah, it's a
and
sight
that's
to
the
behold.
importance of it, right?
And that's
I
true.
would,
You know, how many people are, that's what you need in your life. Someone that's willing to break the door down to do what's best for you, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, for sure.
I think I have like a lot of the times when stuff like that happens in other people's marriages. My stance is, if you're a friend, um, I don't necessarily want to. Okay, look, I like conflict, but not that kind of conflict. Okay, so my biggest fear is always getting punched by other people's wives. Like
Mm.
I'm not ever fearful of getting punched by my friends. Um, my biggest fear is like getting in somebody's marriage when we need to, and then like somebody else's wife throwing a right hook or and just like knocking me out. And so I try not to get involved when I don't need to. But like I find like tons of people, not tons of people. We've had good close friends. We just happen to have a handful of them. But we've had good close friends, mentors that when Gemma and I, especially when we were dating, I think that every couple needs to learn how to fight and how to go through proper dialogue.
Hmm.
And we just suck at it so bad. And so like we would argue about the dumbest things. Like, I always say like you want to start an argument in my house, in my household, talk about what's for dinner. If we're not making dinner, like if we're ordering out, man, and you're on Skip and you're trying to figure out what we're gonna eat, like it's game over. It's going to take 30 minutes to try to figure out what we're going to eat. And so we've been blessed, man, that we've had people model for us what it's like to be there for people, and for close personal relationships during the rough times, because
Mhm.
the weight of your friendship is not necessarily when everything is going great, because how hard is it to be a friend when everything's going great? I think the weight of the friendship is what happens when you're down and out and you just need somebody to help you get back up.
Yeah, for sure. You have to be open to that as well, right? So one of the things you guys were talking about is mentorship. Like how that's something that for me it's a pretty new word, and I'm pretty sure for many people out there it's a new word as well. Where do we start with mentorship? Like how did you guys start?
Well, I'll take it.
Tom, do you want to start with that, or?
Yeah, let's go. I've never really had like an official mentor or been an official mentee, I guess. Like either way, like I've just had people in my life that I use as like a benchmark, basically, not necessarily mentoring me one on one, like from sports coaches, soccer coaches, or whatever. Like even to my friends, it's like a mentor me through certain situations. I can even tell you on Saturday I did a webinar with one of my good friends who lives in Scotland, and we coached and we started together working together, and he's excelled and he's a great coach and he's levels above me. And now I jumped on his webinar and he is a mentor to me indirectly by the work that he does and the posts that he does. And as a coach myself, I'm coaching 18, 15-year olds. And when it comes to the soccer field and life as a 15-year-old, they're coming to me with stuff. So I'm not a qualified mentor, and I've never done any training to be a mentor, but I think like if you've done life, then you can be a mentor. And for me, I'm looking to people that are ahead of me, that are beside me, and we can all mentor each other. Somewhat, your story is different to mine, and Carlos's story is different to yours, and uh, whoever's been somewhere, and I've been somewhere that you haven't, and there's bits that we can take from everyone. And people have flaws, and people have good parts about them. That's normal, and it's just working with a whole heap of people that you admire, that you respect, and
Just making that jump and being vulnerable, right?
I think just, just making that jump and being vulnerable. And sometimes it's almost like the example I'll give of my friend's webinar. It's almost like admitting, hey, you're better than me at this thing. You're not saying that you're a better person than me or anything, but you're better than me at this particular thing. And I'm admitting that, and I'm being vulnerable and saying, I want to learn from you, not to be proud and being like, I'm not going on his webinar. I'm not getting mentored by him. Like he's 4 years younger than me, and we've been doing this for the same amount of time. Time and age, it doesn't matter. Like if they've got something that uh, they've done and they've done it successfully and you can learn from it, jump in, admit your vulnerability, admit that you need some assistance and help, and dive right in.
Yeah, totally, totally. I think at least with me, I think that comes with age as well, right? Being able to differentiate and move away from comparison, that whole comparison game, and just being able to reach out to someone and be like, "Hey, yeah, you're succeeding these things. I want to get to that point. How can I get to that point? Can you show me how to get to that point?"
Yeah, and it can be small. Like even take
That's
this podcast, for example. You want to start a podcast, you don't just buy a microphone and sit in front of your screen and record. You ask people who have got a podcast, what do you use? How do you do it? What equipment do you have? Like,
Mhm.
it's not necessary. A mentor doesn't need to guide you through life, but a mentor can help you in a certain period of it. Like you look to a mentor or you look to someone to help you set up a podcast, and that they might be your mentor technically for like 2 weeks as you get set up. And then for you, their mentorship is now over. Like they've mentored you to the point that they've got you to your first episode. So now what do I need mentoring in now? Where do I go from here? And that's why I think that you have mentors for different seasons, for sure.
Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah, I want to elevate the word mentor. I mean, I agree with what you guys are saying. I want to elevate the word mentor a little bit more because I find that as time progresses, certain words get sort of diluted. If you think about the word amazing or incredible, these were words that were used, awesome. These were words that were once used to depict something that was truly incredible, that was next level. And now we just use them like, hey man, how was your day? It was pretty awesome. Hey, how's that apple? It was pretty incredible. And so yeah, they just become words, and they don't get given um I don't even want to say respect. They're not put on the same level that they used to be. And so when I look at the word mentor and mentorship, and when I look at that relationship, yeah, obviously it changes from person to person. If you're doing a podcast and you want to seek some mentorship, and then that's a 2 week thing, I mean, I'm not going to tell you that it's not mentorship. I think it's just a different level. I mean, I would call it more of like a guide. But here's what a mentor did for me and Gemma, and what I think mentorship is. I was at a place when I was 20 years old where I had absolutely no idea what I was doing with my life. My schedule was home to work to home to work, home to work. And I think the downside to that is that home, I shared with two other roommates. And so it was just so, and we worked in the restaurant industry. So home was actually just a party house. And so, if I'm being truly honest, it was home to party house, or work to party house to, to work to party house to work. And I got to a point where I was like, man, there's no way that the next, that my whole life is going to be like at some point, something's got to change. And in that crossroad, I had no idea how to make that change.
Hmm.
And at that point, when I was 20, I had a friend of mine, Carm Bassi, reach out. And it was kind of like, man, some people will say it was a chance. Some people will say it was God given. Some people will say it was a miracle. And for me, it's all the above. I was at such a point in my life where I was looking for change, where I knew I needed to make advances in my life, and where I didn't know enough about how to do it, where I had somebody that had fruit on the tree, which is important when we talk about mentorship, not to just follow a person, but to look at what they've built in different areas that you're looking for mentorship in. If you're looking to build a great business, look for somebody that has business experience that has built businesses. If you look at somebody, and you want them to give you advice on your marriage or your relationships, whether it be on your faith or your finances, whatever that aspect of life you're looking for mentorship in, make sure that that person has built something that would have given that person enough experience to now mentor you on how to duplicate those results that they've created in their life. And
Hmm.
so when I talk about mentorship, the reason I put it at such a higher level is because I truly believe mentorship can change people's lives for the better if they pick the right mentor. And you can have more than one mentor. But if you're just looking for a guide, and if there's just somebody that you kind of stumble upon and you don't check the fruit on the tree, you could be asking that person for mentorship and be getting advice from that person. And you could not get, it could lead you down a path that maybe you don't want to go down.
I hear what you're saying, man. And I know for me, it's been, I mean, I consider you guys mentors, right? I know for me, it's had a huge impact on my life and the way I do things, the way I see things. Um, and especially with my relationship, right? Look at your guys' marriages and kind of learn from that. And I know in turn you guys are learning from our marriage as well, right?
Totally.
So I mean, it's surrounding yourself with people that don't have it together necessarily, but that are aiming to get there and want to bring you along with them.
Totally. And let me tell you, man, like, I don't think anybody has it together to the point that they like never argue, never have issues, never like they just live this perfect life. Gemma and I have just as many disagreements as anybody does. We have just as many, arguments and different things. I think what changes is how we handle disagreements, um, and how we communicate through them. Because just as much as it is about, hey man, I love you, If I can't look at my wife in her eyes and tell her I love you, and at the end of the day, to for her to feel that we're both on the same page, I'm not going to be able to take any energy out of that marriage, and then to be able to pour it into somebody else.
Definitely.
Tom, I think one of the things that I really appreciate about you. I mean, I appreciate you obviously, but one of the things that one of the moments in time was actually the first time we met. You walked in, um,
You looked gorgeous.
you look gorgeous.
Hmm.
We met. You were brand new in a city. You didn't have much of a community, and yet you felt drawn to the place where we met, and you didn't have a mask. Like oftentimes, I meet new individuals, and oftentimes even current relationships and acquaintances, where no matter how good or no matter usually if things are not as great, there's always this wall, there's always this mask that goes up where they're just trying to make sure that everybody thinks that everything is going great. How rephrase my question here. You are such an open person. I guess it's more of a statement. Was that a progression for you, or have you always just been like that? Because ever since I've known you like that, have you
Mm.
always just been a completely drop the BS? Here's who I am. You get what you see, kind of Tom, or was there a time where maybe you masked a little bit?
Oh yeah, for sure. There's a lot of masking at a young age, and probably like doing a lot of traveling around the world and staying in hostels and stuff, and meeting like so many people, so many awesome people along the way. You kind of find like it's such a cliche of traveling. Like I'm going to find myself, but you really do. Like I really did, and I went around all these places from like Australia to Thailand and to Central America and wherever, like all over, and you find who you are, and then you no longer need to mask it because you look at yourself and you think, yeah, that this is who I am, and if people don't like it, then I don't really care. Like the people that you're drawn to, and the people that are drawn to you will know you, and people that aren't, they won't like you, but they'll know you. They
Mm,
can't say that you're not real, and I think part of removing the mask can also not be forced. And hopefully, no one from my work listens to this, because we did something in a company meeting. It's nothing bad. I work with awesome people. Like, there's not one colleague that I don't like. But you can't force an unmasking. And we did something at our work called Getting Naked, where we jumped into a group.
sounds
We
like an
jumped.
HR
Yeah,
issue.
it's a HR issue. We
Yeah. And you guys literally got naked, right?
yeah we oh, maybe at the bar after some of the guys did. But
Oh
we
my god.
we read a book before the company meeting called Getting Naked, which was about it was about business, and it was about opening up and being honest in your working environment and getting to know the people around you to build those positive relationships, which is completely fine. But when we went to do it, they put us into groups with some people, and we're 100% a remote workforce. So for me, there's people there I've never ever seen in my life, and now you're telling me that I've got to tell them like who I really am, and
Mm,
you can't force that, because I might tell you who I really am, and they might tell me who they really are, but our relationship is maybe not there yet,
Mm.
and sometimes that's not how it's done. So I think for me, I'm an open book, and I don't mind if you don't like me or if you do like me, but you will know me. You will know who I am and know my personality. In that experience, I found that it for sure can't be forced upon someone to remove a mask in a situation that they don't want to remove their mask.
mm.
Yeah, totally. I know growing up for me, like, man, for me, it was like mask upon mask upon mask upon mask. You know what I mean? And it took me a while, going through some shit and stuff, to finally just be like, you know what? I just don't care anymore. I don't want to have that burden of carrying all this baggage. I just want to let it go. I want to, experience things. I want to be myself. I want to be able to love people. I want to be able to grow, accomplish things. Um, and if they like me, awesome. If they don't, even better, because that means, the people that I surround myself with truly have like an investment in me, right?
Exactly.
Mm.
And like, we know each other. Like,
Yeah.
I know Carlos, I know you, Alex. Like, I know you. Like, there's not much you can
I
do
know
that
you
would
too.
surprise me, because because we don't have a mask. It's not like, oh, that's weird, that's unexpected. Like, that sort of thing. That's what you
Yeah, just like how we found out that you were liberal. It's like, what? Just joking.
exactly.
I'm
I'm
just
gonna take
kidding.
this moment to say that there's a lot of politics stuff going on right now, and like a lot of friendships are being tested.
Yeah.
Can I just say, when we found out Tom was a liberal, it is okay to have liberal friends as long as you meet them when you're talking. I'm just kidding. It is totally okay. Like, this is for real though. It is, I think, part of the reason why we have such a tight friendship. And I think one of the things that is missing in a lot of friendship is having the freedom of speaking your mind, and still holding the respect of the people that you're friends with. So
Yeah.
many times you have different viewpoints, and in society you'll get judged for it. Shane Johnson talks a lot about, in friendships and in relationships, being able to know somebody, show them love, and then being able to challenge. And I think that's why we have such a tight friendship, is because we all know each other, and we know that we know each other. We all love each other, and we know that we love each other. And so when challenge comes, it's not like this weird thing of like, oh man, you're challenging me. It's like, hey, no, I gave you permission to challenge me. And so when I'm challenged by you, this doesn't come out of left field. I just know that it's happening because it's what we talked about.
Yeah, that's very important.
So this book, Getting Naked, is it about Patrick Lencioni, or is it the one by Harlan Cohen? Because the one by Harlan Cohen is 5 steps to finding the love of your life while fully clothed and totally sober.
Definitely not that one.
It is definitely that one.
It is. It's the Patrick one. Patrick Lencioni. Hey, it's not a bad book.
Well, listen, guys, I'm so happy to have you guys here on the first official podcast. It wouldn't be the same without you guys. I appreciate your time. I just want to tell everybody out there, just get naked, like Tom was saying, not literally, but there comes a point where you just want to make changes. You want to let go of those things weighing you down, and the best thing to do is seek out people, seek out mentorship. Honestly, it's been huge for myself and my family. I really appreciate that. And I'm just hoping that other people can also experience that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Well, I love you tremendously, man. Thank you so much for having me on, Alex. Thanks for being on, Tom. I can't tell you how proud I am of the man that you've become, and the way that you lead your family, the way that you lead in your inner circle, and the way that you serve your community. You're just such an incredible human being, and I'm very thankful and proud to be your friend.
Oh man, you guys are awesome.
Yeah, love you guys, and yeah, thanks again, Alex, for having us on. Appreciate it. Be on the first episode.
Absolutely, love you guys. Have a great day. Thank you so much for listening today. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Today's episode of the Men's Line podcast is proudly sponsored by Crystal Grave Design Studio. Has your significant other decided to start their side hustle and are now stuck trying to figure out how to brand it, especially during this time of isolation? Or maybe you know someone who needs their website updated for 2020. If this sounds like you, surf over to crystalgrave.ca. Fill out the quick questionnaire with your exact needs and she'll get back to you in 24 hours or less. Crystal Grave Design Studio, crafting beautifully designed websites for small businesses and creatives in the Vancouver area.